good too, bro.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's John Wilkins. Bunch of people call me Core Coach, Mr. Foundation. I'm sitting here with guys that I've been training in my training center for a number of years. On my right, I got Justin. On my left, I got Nick. Say what's up, guys.
How you doing?
What's up? How you doing?
The thing we wanted to talk about today is how we got these guys so big, strong, and muscular. These guys play college football now. And, I'm going to start out by saying the reason why in my type of training is functional training, core training, stabilization, time under tension. I've been training these guys. We've been building up that foundation for years. And they also lift regularly also because just because we get tested in football, we got the bench press, we got the squat. Those are all mandatory lifts, and he's not going to get away from them. But, in order to do that, we got to have a strong foundation. One of the things I always tell people is in our foundation, what we're trying to do is build up that core. Now, most people don't know what the core is. All right, so I'm going to real quick explain that. Your core actually starts from the base of your skull, your spine, where your spine starts. It goes all the way down through your pelvic. It's all the muscles, internal muscles around your spine, and that's your core. So think about an apple. If I was coring out an apple, I would go from the top. I would go right through the stem. I would go right through, all the way through into the bottom. All the stuff I take out is your spine. The stuff around it is your core, okay? Another example of your core is, another thing off of your core is all your stabilizers. So that's all your things with your shoulders and with the hips. And what we're trying to do is build the foundation. The foundation for us is if I built a 3,000 square foot home and I put a 2,000 square foot foundation, would it work? It'll work for a little while, right? So your foundation's too small, your big stabilizer muscles are bigger. It'll work for a little while, but at some point it will rot. At some point it will be unstable.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is make sure we protect our bodies with building up the internals to help us with the externals. So you guys have been with me for a number of years now. How long have you been with me?
Since 7th grade, and now I'm a sophomore in college.
All right.
Yeah, for me it was spring of 8th grade. It's probably almost 6-7 years now.
Yeah. And what do you feel is like the benefit, Justin, of what we've been doing?
Personally, I think it's on top of, the physical aspect. I think the mental is very important. During playing football in college, you have things such as mat drills and we have it's called competition week, and you're doing exercises that aren't typically found in a weight room, farmer's carries or sled pushes and stuff like that, where you can do it, but it's just a matter of getting over that mental and being able to push through, which I think coming from here is, I've built so much on knowing that, you have to finish and you have to, compete with yourself. So I think that was very important.
Yeah. What about you?
I'd agree with that. Definitely the mental, doing the arete bar is really not much that's harder than that.
Yeah.
So you get to college, start doing the mat drills. They're really nothing compared to the bar. And then also the physical aspect, I feel like I feel much more explosive. I feel a lot stronger than a lot of other kids. And like other people usually would agree with that.
Yeah.
Because it hits the muscles that you wouldn't usually hit.
Right.
And it's like more like, it's not weight room strength, it's strength that you could use out physically in whatever sport you're doing. Football for me, I think wrestling is huge. Like if I wrestled, I think I'd be, I don't know if I'd be good, but I definitely have a lot more strength than a usual person just because of the arete bar and the way that you train that. It's just constant
and all those
on
different
those muscles.
positions on that bar.
Yeah.
Right?
For me especially, like I tore my ACL my senior year of high school, and I really had 7 months from surgery to our first day of practice my freshman year of college. So I had 7 months to fully recover from an ACL surgery, which is a fast time. And being on that bar really, speeds up that process and puts you in positions where you're not normally put just squatting or doing leg extensions. It's real functional activities where you're on the football field, locking out someone and pushing with your legs. Like, you really need to be battle tested, and being here doing that, I feel is like very important to translating onto the field.
It's also constant pressure, constant going up and down, constant keeping your arms locked out, constant pressure on your back muscles, and then the Froggers, constant exploding your hamstrings. I feel like it gets all the muscles that you really need for whatever sport.
Yeah. You know what the funny part is? There was a guy, I did a post, and it was on Instagram, and I said, if you want strong legs, and then I showed the post was a guy doing Froggers. And one of the guys commented back, he was like, nah, that's not going to get you there, And he was actually squatting. And I said to him, obviously you get furious, So I said back to him, I said, hey, the guy that did these Froggers can also squat that, whatever the weight you had on.
Yeah.
I said, the difference is you can't do what he's doing, So he's only squat strength. He would never be able to do those Froggers. So he's one-dimensional, where my kid, he's a wrestler, could actually do your squats and do those Froggers.
Yeah.
So I would feel more comfortable putting him on the field, on the court, on the ice, on a mat before a guy just doing squats.
Yeah. It doesn't really transfer over. Squats don't really transfer over as well as, the bar to a sport.
Yeah.
Squats are just one movement, just up and down, and down.
Yeah.
But,
no, I agree. It's you kind of just do your traditional, squat, bench, deadlift. It'll get you strong in like those positions, but you're not getting those. You're not just going on the field and just squatting people up and down all day.
Right.
Like, you have to move people in certain positions that you're not as comfortable with. Yeah, so I just think that's, very important.
Yeah, there's a big difference between being weight room strong and being actually strong. I've seen plenty of people that are very weight room strong, but they
can't play football.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was, I know I talked to you guys about this before. One of the things I don't understand is at the elite professional level, they're doing all that stuff. They're doing the functional stuff. I remember one guy who was on the Giants when he first came in. One of his claim to fame was squatting 500 pounds, right? And the trainer, when he did it when he made it to the Giants, when he did it in weight training, the guy says, you don't ever put 500 pounds on a bar again and squat it again.
Yeah.
He said, what I'd like you to do, he said, if you can put 225 on and do it 50 times, I'll let you squat 500 pounds anytime you want. Well, he couldn't do the 225 for more than 20 times. So, and that's more functional and more game ready than just a heavy explosive lift.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make that contact. After that contact, what happens? You got to then do something with them.
Yeah.
But if you're just strong in that initial contact, I can go find somebody else that's been functionally training forever, take your spot, and you were the strongest guy in the NFL, but you can't play here.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, you take that high level and we filter it down to college, where we're still doing all those lifts. I think people are starting to change, depends on what college it is. But then you go to a high school and they're all doing heavy lifts. And then the father of the little kids that now want to start training are those same people who are making the kid lift that way. He should actually be doing more of this stuff in the NFL, because that is, it's functional.
Yeah.
It's for the foundation.
Yeah.
Like, create this kid the right way so he can go on.
Yeah.
And do those things, you know?
And if you go to if you see like professional athletes, the most athletic people in the world, you see the way that they train. They're not really posting themselves maxing out a bench press. Like Tyreek Hill, he's showing you like all of his functional training. He's
Yeah.
not really. You never see Tyreek Hill squatting 500 pounds.
Yeah.
You see him
in range of motion positions, trying to stay injury free, so he can sign better contracts. You know.
Yeah.
But why don't we do that at the little league level? We go right into we ain't do nothing to we benched today. Oh, we squatted today. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'd rather make the kid back crawl. You want to get strong, you know?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of that weight room strength, just playing football, I feel I've seen a lot of guys who are extremely strong in the weight room. Then you get them on the field and they're just like super uncoordinated. And being able to, be strong in those positions, to work through them, to be more of like a fluid player. Because at the next level, being linebackers, especially, I think the era of the big, hunky linebackers is over. Coaches are looking for more speed, change of direction, speed,
cover the flat,
speed,
curl, hook the curl. I mean,
speed is the name of the game. So you're gonna have those opportunities where you can hit people in the A gap, but you're gonna need to be able to go, get someone on a stretch or cover a wide receiver in the slot. But it's just like looking for more versatility in players, and that's where training more versatile definitely comes into play.
You also can't really blow someone up if you're just hunky. Like you can't. You gotta be able to be fast, and you gotta be able to get to where they're getting.
Yeah.
I was when I was playing high school ball, I was like top running back in the state, and we had our second string defensive tackle in practice. I was like, I'm gonna blow this guy up, So I took the hand off, and he just reached his head out and stuck his shoulder and his neck and head into my arm, and he knocked me down on the ground. And I stood up. I said, "Yeah, I slipped," stuff like that. I went back to the huddle, and I was talking to my coach because it was in practice. I was like, "Yo, how come this kid doesn't start, man? That's actually the hardest anybody's ever hit me." But he was not functionally strong. Like if he sat in front of me and he hit me again, perfect. But if I put a move on him and cut back in and he had to actually angle and tackle me, he would have never made the tackle.
Yeah.
He said, so yeah, his father was lifting him, but he can't play football,
Yeah.
And I think nowadays we sit here and we're like, the game is changing so much, but everywhere I go at the youth level was still speaking the same stuff. Like I have people call me all the time, say, "Hey, you do speed training." I'm like, how can I generate speed on this kid who has no core? I'm like, what am I gonna do? Make him do ladders? He's gonna get faster? But he's uncoordinated. None of his muscles are in any chain of alignment. His shoulders are so weak. His core is weak. His feet duck out like this. But you're gonna pay $25 for session for speed training. No, I need to get this kid strong within himself.
Yeah.
Let's do some calisthenics. Let's do some plank walks. Let's do some plank jumps. Let's do some lunges with no weights. Let's do some loaded lunges. Let's do some push-off stuff, and get this kid where he needs to be first. And then we can do those things,
Definitely. I feel like, just personally, I've never had a shoulder injury before. I've had my ACL, but that was kind of just I don't want to say a fluke, but it was just I was out of place. But I've never had a shoulder injury playing football, which I feel like a lot of guys, especially at linebacker position, have had tons leading with their shoulders, and they just don't have the more than just their muscles in here, the deeper fibers. I think that is very important.
And it's encapsulated, right? So if I can stretch my arm out like this and I have strength, as soon as I move it out to the side, I have less strength.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm coming in and I've got to either post on somebody, I have no strength here. And now this shoulder is in a position where we've never practiced. We've never lifted this way. We've never done any of that stuff, right? So now this shoulder's out to the side like this, and I have no strength at all. Plus, a running back comes running through it, and he blows my arm back, and it's never been in that position before.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to do. We try to get people to be in position, get strong in all different positions and scenarios, so you can be more effective, in your sport. on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I also feel like if someone were to do MMA, like doing plank jumps, you're constantly pushing your body up, and you're doing it like 3 times around the room. Like imagine how hard. That's basically you're practicing punching people. Same with football. Like lineman comes up to you, you're practicing just jabbing him.
Right.
You know?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and how are you going to get your shoulders stronger if you're doing just like shrugs? Like that's not functional. You're never going to have anything like that happen in football where you're going to need to shrug or anything like that.
Right. So I was at Penn State, and I was invited to Penn State by Flow Wrestling, Flow Sports with Sion Williams, one of my actually good friends now. Met him last year at a coaches convention. And I was in the strength and conditioning room with the head strength training coach.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome guy. And he showed me actually a couple neck exercises that I never even saw before. So he takes a rubber band, a big thick rubber band, and he puts it snugly around your head, and you have to get in your position, whether it's, 3-point stance, whether it's, 2-point, whatever, wrestling stance. And he actually takes the rubber band, and you have to bow your neck up like this and keep your stance. And he just kind of pulls on it a little bit, moves around this way, and he comes back this way. And when he first did it, he pulled on it. I feel my neck tighten up, As my neck tightens up, then he actually goes this way. And because I couldn't maintain my head in that position, right, my whole leg, everything, I fell over.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, let's do it again, So he did it again. I kind of cheated a little bit by, knowing that he was going to go that way and put my position that way. But when you do a shrug, you actually don't build your neck like he was just showing me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what everybody thinks. Oh, shrugs for neck strength.
Mm-hmm.
But the neck strength exercise he was showing me, a lot of the hits you take that people get concussions, it's not just a hit, it's you hitting the turf, And by strengthening up that neck and all the neck muscles all through the traps and the shoulders, because that's what I felt, and then staying in position and keeping that neck up like this, I was like, how could you not get stronger?
Yeah.
So what I did was I took a lot of the stuff that we do with the planks and the plank jumps and all that stuff, I actually incorporated that in, And there was a couple more too. One of the other ones was a physio ball against the wall, and you put your forehead on it, and you walk your feet back like this. The thing I was thinking was, first of all, I'm going to bow my neck up. I'm going to have my forehead on this ball, leaning up against the wall. I'm going to fall right down. But I didn't. Because the key was, he said to me, tighten up your core as if you were doing your plank walk.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would never have thought of. I would have thought of using my lower back. Right? So it's like, I pulled it in, just like I was doing my plank, put that head up against that, and he says, take a couple steps back now. Took a couple steps back, the ball starts moving, and you got to control this with this neck,
Yeah.
So imagine, I'll come through the hole, I get a handoff, somebody blows me up from the left, my head's going to snap that way.
Yeah.
Right? But if my neck is so strong, all through my forward neck, through my shoulders, I could take that hit way better than if I just didn't do anything at all and I just did shrugs,
Yeah. You also don't really realize how functionally weak you are until you do something like that, or do a plank walk or something like that. Because people who have never done this stuff can't get close to finishing a normal workout that we would do.
I think about one of our biggest posts on Instagram was him.
Really?
Yeah. So, do you remember?
It was probably me
The day
screaming.
You were late.
Oh yeah.
I said you had 6 high plank walks in the trolley system.
Oof.
And you can't stop.
That's a lot.
Oh my God, that was one of our best posts because he made it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to do another one, but he was screaming at the top of his lungs. It was the best. My wife was down on her hands and knees videoing him, and he was like, ah!
Yeah.
And he made it.
It's also really mental though. You're gonna go to places that you don't usually go to doing that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Third quarter, fourth quarter, you get mentally weak. You know, you could either come out or you could stay in and keep playing and say, you know, screw it. I just got to push myself harder. I've done this before in training.
You've been there before.
Yeah.
And you know, the association too is even my life now, at being an adult, is I still say, hey, it's fourth quarter. I never hit the snooze button, you know. And at some point, you're going to be married. You're going to have some kids. That piece of what your training is really going to teach you how to just function through life. You know, there's a lot of people. You know, you lose your job and they sitting on the couch waiting for a job to come to them. If you lose your job and you were working for 8 hours or 10 hours, you take that 10 hours and that 8 hours and you go find another job.
Yeah.
You know? If your kid gets sick and somebody's got to stay home and you're like, oh, I can't do this, you know? I feel like this type of training functionally in that mindset. So what we have first, we have the mental, then we have the physical, then we have the emotional, and then we have the spiritual, right? So your mental gives up first and then your physical. Right?
Yeah.
Once you get done with those two, you contemplate, like, where are these going to come from? Like, what's going to happen? Am I going to make excuses? Am I going to pick myself up and keep going? Which is that fourth quarter. Right? And how many fourth quarters have we played in knowing that we weren't going to win, but we still work hard and try hard, knowing that the guy in front of me was not blocking because he mentally gave up?
Yeah.
And then the spiritual part is, after the emotional part, is now telling yourself that you can do it, right? And that's the same as that parent or the coach saying, yeah, Justin, let's go. Come on, Nick, you can do that. Now you're doing it to yourself. And how much of a role does that play in your just everyday life?
Yeah.
You know, nobody wants to go to classes every day.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do a 16-page report. Some people wait till the last minute and then they complain the entire time about it. It's not going to change the fact that you still have to do it. So you might as well grit like you normally grit on the things you love and go through it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that sucks. Like, a lot of my teammates miss a lot of classes. I don't miss one class. I go to every single class, even though, like, some days I don't want to. It's, you know, I just push through because I've been, you know, it's kind of ingrained into me. I've been doing this stuff I've been getting trained by you for so long. I already have that mindset.
I know both of your parents and both of your families work hard. You know what I mean? Like, your dad, you know, you guys have your own business, right? And then your dad is
he's a
financial stuff?
VP of finance at a company called S&P Travel.
Yeah. And you can't work up to those levels without yourself as parents doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you want to sleep in and you got something to do, your parents are, oh yeah, he's you know, let him sleep in. He's been doing this, and you know, they don't give you those excuses at home either. So when they came to me, they wanted to make sure that whatever I teach at home, you're teaching in the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then collectively, that's what you want. Like, I'm on a team with your parents, with your teachers, you know, with your coaches, with your friends. You know, you get the wrong friends, you get the wrong coaches, you get the wrong teachers, you know. We want to set you guys up as parents. We want to set you guys up with things that are going to help you, that we're all staying on the same page, that my message is going out the same as a parent. You know what I mean? And that's our team.
Yeah, a lot of it is, especially from you, is tough love. It's like, you know, like, life isn't easy, so you definitely get that through people's heads.
Yeah.
And if they quit, they quit.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
But the ones that stay are successful.
Right.
So.
And just successful people, you know, just successful people. One of the things I always say is, look, you know, growing up, we were dirt poor, right? And then I come out to Sparta, and there's, you know, you guys are doing pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
So I get here, and virtually, like, one of the only black people in this town. And I have to go out and build a clientele and run a business, you know?
Yeah.
So what I did with my little sister was I stood at, it was the Grand Union in Sparta, and I did a flyer and I handed out flyers. Well, within that week, I got 17 new clients.
Yeah.
Just because they saw what this person was about, you know?
Yeah.
If you're standing at a grocery store handing out flyers, this must mean something to you. You know what I mean? I want to be coached and trained by this guy, you know?
Yeah.
So you take that whole life prior to where, you know, there was a lot of times where, I mean, we moved like 14 times. We got evicted out of places. There was nights where we slept in front of the stove because we had no heat, you know. We had rats in our house and mice and, you know, stuff like that. And, I mean, it was brutal at times, you know. I had no clothes. For Christmas, I used to get like nothing, you know. I used to get a box of like candy with peanuts and stuff in it, you know. And I didn't know the difference. I just said, okay, well, when I went to school, somebody would say to me, hey, you know, the teacher would go around the room and say, hey, what'd you get for Christmas? And I would memorize a couple other people's stuff. And when she got to me, I said, oh, I got to watch. They're like, oh, where is it? Oh, it's at home, you know?
Yeah.
But at that point there, that was my excuse. That was not me facing, you know, who I was and then building myself up and getting out at some point. So what happened was it carried a little bit into my life where I didn't even like myself. I was like, why did I have to be born black? Why are we so poor? Why, you know? But at some one point, I realized that only just made me more angry. That only just made me more mean. That I didn't do no schoolwork at one point. Then my parents got divorced, you know? And it was like, what do I do, you know?
Yeah.
Well, some of the relatives and brothers, and they went and sold drugs and stuff like that and got into prison. I took up football, you know? And I said, my neighbor down the road, he was the football coach. He was like, race my son. And I raced him. I beat him by a mile. He was like, you want to play football? I said, what's football? And he was like, I'll show you. So I went to practice. He was like, okay, great. You're good. Just have your mom fill out this paperwork and, you know, pay you $25 for your, you know, your equipment and stuff. And I went home and I said, I ain't getting $25 from my parents. You know? So he was like, meet me tomorrow and we'll play football. You know, we'll go back to practice. So I didn't go the next day. And then he saw me. I was down the road in my yard. He was like, hey, you coming to football? I said, no. He was like, why not? And I said, we don't have any money. He goes, oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry about that. You know what? Come to football. And he paid my registration.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And my first handoff was a reverse 70-yard touchdown, which I couldn't go back in the game because I was exhausted.